All right.
Rock
Sorry, I
on,
was
huh?
into the music. I have to ask, who was that?
That's JJ created that song.
I did.
From
Oh,
AI.
very cool.
Yeah.
Really?
Welcome, guys. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Leaf and Ash podcast. I'm your host, Panda, along with my three compadres and one special guest. But before we get to him, let me introduce you guys to my three compadres. On the bottom left, we got the Cigar Don. What's going on, Donnie boy?
What's going on, everybody? Trying to stay warm here in Studio B.
Studio B. On the top, yeah.
Studio A is under construction. This will be the last one in Studio B. So
Good Lord, man. And that Studio A is being built real quick.
Yes, sir.
yes, it is.
On the top right, we got the big dogs, PC, aka Silverback. What's going on, PC?
Man, what's going on with you? And welcome to our guest, you know?
Our dysfunctional family here.
Exactly.
And guys, as you all know, on the bottom right is our one finger pecker sensation. The wizard behind the curtain there, JJ, aka Cigar Mutt. What up, Mutt?
Hey, what's up, everybody? How you doing?
All right, and our guest of honor, guys, no other than Mr. Pete Johnson for Tatuaje Cigars. Welcome, Pete. Welcome to the Leaf and Ash podcast. We greatly appreciate you taking the time and joining us today. How you doing?
No, good, man. Thanks for having me. I'm just nice and chilly down here in Miami, so I'm bundled up like I should be like somewhere in Aspen or something. But yeah, I'm having a good time. So thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you. You are our very first guest in 2025. And let me tell you, we greatly appreciate you taking this time with us. Like I said, you know, to start off 2025 with a bang, you know, we greatly appreciate you taking this time. It means a lot to us.
Right on.
But let's get right into it because I know, you know, you got some things to do and you got some other places to be shortly thereafter.
I got about an hour and a half.
Okay, that works. We're going to try to milk every hour, every second from you.
Right on.
But for those of you, obviously, whoever doesn't know Tatuaje, I don't know where you've been living, where you've been staying, underneath the rock. If you do not know who this man is and what his cigars are about, you have no clue of what you're doing in the cigar world, period. Okay? And that's a fact, right? I've always been a great fan of Tatuajes since you came out back in, 2003? 2004, right?
2003.
You know, and I started with you way back when you started off with the regular Tatuaje, the black label, the red labels, you know, in the very beginning, you know, and then obviously you came up, we'll get into it with the Monster series and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But when you started back in 2023, how did you figure out that you wanted to do cigars? Because you were a musician prior to.
Yeah, I was a musician, but that was when I was like in my early 20s. So I left the music industry and I started working in the cigar industry in 1993. So it took me about 10 years to find the right person to make me the cigar I wanted to put my name on. I tried to make a cigar in the mid 90s, and then I realized that I didn't know enough about that side of the business. So I kind of shoved it to the side and gave up on the dream for a bit. Most factories that I was going to were just trying to like throw my band on their own cigar and like, oh, we can just put your band on it as your cigar. I go, yeah, that's not how I want to do it. So finally, when I met Pepin Garcia, I was his. I don't know if you guys know this, but I was his first client. Like before he made a Don Pepin cigar, he actually made a Tatuaje cigar. And when I met him, he was really like a teacher. Like he's the teacher's teacher. He's the guy that will sit down with you and guide you, but not only help you blend to your palate, but eventually he'll teach you how to do it yourself. And that's eventually what he did for me. Like in the first cigar, he blended it to my palate based on conversations back and forth. It was nice because he said that I knew what I wanted and it was easy for him to understand, even though there was a language barrier. So, yeah, it took a while to get to this point, but now I might be considered one of the old guys in the industry.
I mean, you've been in it for a minute now. You've been now what, 21 years?
22 now,
22
officially
now,
22 with the brand, and then 32 with the cigar business.
right?
So
I mean, obviously, and once again, those who don't know who Don Pepin is, I don't know where the heck you've been. You know what I mean? Because the man's the godfather of cigars. You know what I mean?
well, before 2003, really, no one knew much about Pepin.
Mm-hmm.
Because Pepin left Cuba, I think it was like '02. Actually, he left Cuba a little earlier, went to Nicaragua for about a year. And then once he was able to save enough money and his daughter was able to save enough money to bring the whole family up, they managed to come up in 2002. And I met them, shortly later in 2003, and eventually became their first customer. But yeah, I mean, he took off like a rocket ship. But I think the proof is in the pudding. Like with him, there's no bullshit behind it. Like he truly is a teacher. He's truly a master. He's one of those guys that deserves the praise. And for me, it's he's like another dad for me. So it's actually it's a blessing to have him in my life.
Yeah, I mean, listen, and you've been with them since, correct?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very tight with him because I'm his son-in-law.
Right. I was just gonna say, now you're definitely not going nowhere.
Yeah.
How exactly did you guys meet? I mean, was it someone introduced you guys, or how did that come about?
Yeah, I had a friend in I lived in Los Angeles, and that's where the company is still based out of. But I live here in Miami now. I had a friend named Ben Gehrman. He was a sales rep for an old cigar company named Villazon. And Villazon eventually sold to General and STG. It was the people that owned Punch and Hoyo. Mm-hmm. So that before, in the old days, Punch and Hoyo were their own entity owned by this guy named Frank Yaneza, who was a very clever factory owner and blender and tobacco guy, and just one of those guys you'd like to be in his presence also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was working for Villazon, and then eventually he started working for this company called Tropical, and he called me and says, "You still want to make a cigar?" I go, "Nah, I kind of gave that up, that idea up, because I couldn't find anybody that could do it for me." And he goes, "Well, we got this guy that just came in from Cuba. He might be able to make you something." I go, "Well, send me a couple samples. I'll try them out, but I'm not sure if I'm really going to be into it." And honestly, the first few samples I smoked, I didn't like. I just didn't like them. And then he called me and said, "Hey, we're going to come out to Los Angeles to meet with you and sit down and see if we can come up with something for you to, put your name on." And it was one of those moments that the first thing, Pepin and the people with him that spoke English asked me, like, "What do you want?" I go, "Well, just do something medium to full, in like this size, so I could try the blends out." And I didn't like the first 3 cigars I tried. Eventually, I gave Pepin an old Cuban cigar because I was obsessed with like some vintage Cuban cigars that I had. And I gave him one. I smoked one, and he looked at me. He goes, "You want this cigar?" I go, "Yeah, I want exactly what which is old Cuba." Like, I wanted old Cuba. I didn't want new Cuba. I wanted old Cuba. I wanted the history of where he came from. He's been rolling cigars since he was 11 years old. I want to know what was in his mind every time he sat down to roll a cigar.
Mm-hmm.
And man, did he roll me a cigar that I fell in love with. And I went home that night. I was like, I'm going to make a cigar with this Cuban guy I don't even know.
And the rest is history, huh?
Yeah, it's been a fun ride. I mean, bumpy, like a lot of growing pains. You're talking about a 22-year-old brand, but a 22-year-old factory too. So over the years, with all the expansion into different markets, but also the expansion in the different cigar making countries. Like, you know, we went from being only in Miami to Miami and Nicaragua, and then a giant factory in Nicaragua. And then now Jaime decided he wanted to open up a farm and factory in Honduras too. So, like, you know, at some point you could probably slow down, but you know, sometimes you get a little it's kind of like running on a bad knee. You know, you're gonna hobble a little bit, so you gotta be careful. So there were moments where we had growing pains. There were moments that some batches didn't come out the way that I actually thought they should have come out, that type of thing. But luckily, you learn from those lessons and you try not to repeat them.
Because I know, especially in the early '90s, early '90s cigar, there was a boom, and then there was just like this crash.
Yeah,
right?
that was when all the crap came out with all the
Right,
banana
you know,
leaves and shit.
Exactly. Yeah, you know, and it's funny because a lot of people don't know that, right? And so it's almost faith, right? Because if you would have started back then, you wouldn't.
I probably would have crashed.
You know, right? You would have been crashed and burned back then because if you already burned before 2003, you're like, yeah, I'll try it, man. But yeah,
I have a different mentality when it comes to cigars than most people. Like I believe that they're a very special product. Like, and I also believe in making them for a purpose and not for just the bottom line. So I think maybe if I had my cigar, you know, when I started the brand in 2003, I was like, I'm going to do it so I can make maybe an extra paycheck and it'll supply my smoking habit. And, you know, eventually that extra paycheck turned into a little bit bigger of a paycheck and it turned into a bigger brand, but it's also given me a little bit of leeway to go back to the original idea of why I started the company, which was just to, you know, enjoy something and put together something I really loved.
You talked about the trials and tribulations, right? That you, like, we all know back in like 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
When we were having some issues that, you know, we had the outside trying to come in and intervene and try to talk about how they were trying to, you know, do a correlation between cigars and cigarettes and stuff like that. And it put a very bad sting to people.
You mean the dreaded FDA?
Yeah.
Who has no idea what they're talking about, by the way.
Exactly. And that was half the problem there, that, you know, you have people talking about things they had no clue what, you know, how do you compare a cigar to a cigarette, right? Or these Philly blunts or these, you know, all these things that they buy these little bodegas. It's nothing remotely close to the same. How did you and your company kind of get over that hump during that time?
Yeah, I mean, it was really around 2016 when it hit. It was early. We knew about it was coming, but 2016 was like the panic mode. We knew we were pretty good with when we were dealing with this whole grandfathered product and non-grandfathered product. We knew we had something because we were from 2003. I had conversations with other cigar makers, people that I knew from the industry a long time ago, or newer guys that came in, and they were like freaking out. They're like, we're not going to have a brand because we came out at 2007, and you know 2006 was the cutoff.
Right.
So we knew we had a little bit of product that we could, you know, work with. I'm very happy that a judge sided in our favor, and I'm hoping it continues to go that way.
Right.
Because there's no guarantee with the FDA. The FDA is just a stupid branch of that's not government, that's just overreaching with other people's money for no reason to. What's the newest one? They're going to cut out nicotine and ban cigarettes nationwide.
Right.
Yeah, it's just silly.
And they were talking about ridiculous pricing, you know, for every new blend, for every style. They were really trying to push the market out, right? To just shut them down.
They wanted what was it? Well, we all thought it was going to cost us about $100,000 for every SKU to have it registered because of all the shit that we would have to deal with. But then they came up with like every cigar needs to be a minimum of $10. And I was like, $10? Like, I make cigars that range from $3 all the way up to $100. The guy who drives a tractor every day might want to buy $100 one when he wants to celebrate a baby being born, or
Mhm.
buying a new farm, or selling one of his farms, or selling a crop of something. But his everyday cigar might be that $3 cigar. So, like, how can you tell that guy that his $3 cigar is not his premium? That's my whole thing about premium cigars. A premium cigar to me is maybe another description to a premium cigar for another guy.
Right.
So that upset me a lot because I was like, I make $3 cigars that are damn fucking good. Like, don't tell me I have to put them at $10. I want to sell them at $3.
Right.
Right.
And that's the crazy part. When they started really interjecting, and and it's crazy because the storyline, right, of talking about it made no sense. It made zero sense. But it just as the world goes, right? I guess they were trying to figure out. They'll figure it out. They said it multiple times. It had multiple right.
Throw it at the wall and
Commercials,
it'll stick. Eventually, we'll just go, yeah, you're right. We'll do it.
And it's like, no, absolutely not. And it's like it's just crazy, man. But I just kind of wanted to touch on it because you know what? I know that everyone, especially in your status now, they had to go over that hump, and just everyone had their own trials and tribulations in regards to how they went about it.
Yeah, we all got really scared by it for sure. Regardless of us having cigars that we could potentially do a grandfathered product, it was scary because everybody thought that, this organization is going to put a lot of people out of business, and they're still trying to do that. They're still trying to do that. Hopefully, they just never have a chance to really do it.
I got you. One more question before I pass the mic.
Yeah.
When did Mr. Pete Johnson realize that Tatuaje finally made it? Like when he's like, you know what, I made it. You know what, I busted my ass. I did what I needed to do. When did you realize that you made it?
Yeah, success is a weird thing. I think the first time I ever got a compliment on one of my cigars, I thought that was like a big success. Like that was like a big achievement. So, maybe the first time the Cigar Aficionado did their top 25, I actually made the list on the first year. And while the brand was fairly young in it, and it also was like the number 4 cigar on the list. So that was a big deal. I got a lot of other factories and companies that called me that day to congratulate me. I never expected it, but it did great for the family and it did great for the brand. Dude, success is a weird thing for me because like I wanted to be a rock star, on stage playing to 100,000 people.
Right.
So like now I've become fairly introverted. I like doing these things because I can actually have a conversation with a small group of people. But if you tell me to get on stage in front of 100,000 people, I'd be like, yeah, I'm good. Like, I don't want to be that successful.
Hey, the thing about it, you still have an audience of millions, sampling your cigars.
And before I pass my congratulations on being back on that list again, Aficionados.
Thank you. It's I've only missed 1 year.
That's huge.
The 1 year I don't understand why we missed, but the reality is if they don't rate your cigar, you don't have a chance to get on it. So
and my father, the judge, made number 1. So
I kind of we were having a in-depth conversation that whole week at the office, and we would watch the top 10 unfold. And as I started seeing certain patterns, as soon as the number 2 cigar came out and it was a 60 ring gauge, I flat out said, the judge is the number 1 cigar. That was an easy thing because they usually go back and forth with 2 or 3 cigars that are around the same size, and they kind of battle for the first place. That's another reason why I knew my A wasn't, even though my A was like a 94-point rated cigar that year. I knew it wasn't going to be close to number one because there was nothing around its size format in the top 10.
Yeah.
So it was, after watching this list over the years, I kind of pick up the algorithms.
Well, I got my own. I
guess
got
a
my
lot
own
of shit.
philosophy of that too, because there's definitely like the number 10. But I digress. But I'm gonna pass the mic because that's a whole different conversation. Because the number 10, yeah, that one is a real thorn in my ass right now. So I'm gonna pass the mic to Cigar Don. Go ahead, Don. Take the mic, buddy.
Pete, I'm gonna echo what Panda said, and thank you for joining us, man. It's a pleasure for us.
Right
So
on, man.
you said something just a little while ago that each cigar has a special. You're making it for a special reason. It's not just for the bottom line. And I heard
Yeah.
you say in another interview that you consider each cigar like an art form, like you're writing a song. Can you
Yeah.
kind of expound on that? Like is it the blends? Is it what it means to somebody? What it means to you?
Yeah, I mean, all these cigars are made for us to smoke first. Like the bonus is when you guys actually enjoy them.
Yeah.
Because if no one wants to smoke any Top Hawaii products, I'm gonna have to smoke them with my brother and my buddy Dan, and they better be damn good
Yeah.
because I'm a picky eater. No, so like every cigar for us has a story behind it. There's a reason why we made it in that size. So it is kind of like writing a new song. Being from a musical background and writing songs when I was a kid, making a new cigar, you really kind of sit down, you kind of go through it like you're writing a verse, a bridge, and a chorus.
Yeah.
You want to taste that whole experience. And yeah, man, they're very personal. I think the cigars are very personal.
Yeah.
Personal to anybody who smokes them. And like, again, I go back to that saying is like, what I like, not everybody's going to like. What you like, not everybody's going to like.
Right.
And we all have our own individual palate. We all get to choose and pick what we want to do in life, what we want to eat in life, what we want to smoke in life, what we want to drink in life. And what someone says is good might not be good to me. That's why I don't go to people and say, oh, you're going to love my cigar. I love my cigar. Like, I love every one of them that we make, and they all have a purpose behind them, but I'm not going to be able to tell you that you're going to absolutely love them because I don't know your palate.
Right.
Even with asking you 100 questions, I still don't know your palate.
Right. So I'm smoking the Surrogate Series Animal Cracker
Oh, fun.
tonight. And this is one
That's a really popular cigar for us.
this is one that Panda actually turned me on to. Matter of fact, the whole Tatuaje brand Panda turned me on to when about a year ago. And I can honestly say, and I'm not just saying it because you're sitting here, I haven't smoked a bad one yet.
Well,
and-
I'll tell you, Surrogates is an odd animal because originally I made that for my buddy Dan, who works with us, and each cigar, like if you like the Animal Cracker, you might not like any other cigar in the line because the Animal Cracker kind of stands on its own. Every cigar has got its own identity. Like every cigar is like a limited edition, but at an everyday price point.
Yeah. So I'm a metalhead back from the 80s and the 90s, and my wife even a bigger one than I am. So what bands do you listen to now? What?
Yeah, I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
Like right now, I've been listening to a lot of Mike Campbell. I've been listening to a lot of Oasis, Liam Gallagher's solo music more recently. Yeah, we're kind of like, I have a few friends. We're pretty eclectic on the music selection because there's no real rhyme or reason of what we listen to.
Yeah.
It's just some. Oh, that's a good song. And I love music the same way I love cigars. Not every song is gonna like spark me, but there's a lot of great music out there.
My wife makes fun
It
of me
doesn't matter the genre.
if you look at my list on songs I have anything from Air Supply to Disturbed. I mean, just and even heavier than that. So I'm pretty eclectic too. If a song makes me want to sing and makes me want to jump up and down,
Well, that's the whole thing. Is like
it is.
I think music is good if it's good. Like,
Yeah.
I think rap music can be amazing. I think country music can be amazing. It just has to be a good melody, a good song, a good rhythm, a good beat. And like some music I just don't understand. I don't know why it exists.
If it gives you goosebumps, it touches your soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, mumble rap. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. Don't get me.
Well, I mean, listen, I'm not going to sit back and listen to Megan Thee Stallion. Like that's not really music for me.
Yes, I hate it. Oh man.
But like Tupac and Biggie, they actually made real music.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no like Kanye actually made real music. He's a crazy batshit crazy guy, but made real music. I think music. There are still people out there making real music, but what seems to be popular now to me is not real music.
Nah, what's up, Black? I agree with you because I grew up in New York. Biggie. Eric B. and Rakim. I grew up in that era. Breakdancing was my era. And to me, I tell my son, because my son's into this new era. I'm like, son, no.
Don't do the mumble rap.
It's like, my style. What the hell did he just say? Like translate that to me without reading the subtitles. Just translate it. Makes no damn sense. But I digress. I apologize, Don. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
That's such a sore topic. That's such a sore topic. It's just like the 25 list. But anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So with the consumer these days being a more educated consumership, we have the internet now. We have podcasts like hopefully people are learning from our podcast, and we watch other people's podcasts and stuff. Do you find it easier or harder to introduce new brands and that kind of stuff? Is it what?
I mean, when we do a new brand, it's because we want to do it. Like, is it really? It's not really market, research. We don't do all that. Like, if we do this is going to work. We usually look at what we're missing in the portfolio, and we're like, let's do that or let's try that. But then again, there's a lot of times where we go, well, I'm just in the mood for like a 4x46, like something small.
Yeah.
Right.
Like a little bullet that I can put in my pocket and smoke them, like chiclets.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, we make a lot of nerdy cigars. I know that sounds weird, but I'm a nerd when it comes to cigars. So I think I'm allowed to say it. We make a lot of nerdy cigars. We make a lot of skinnier ring gauges, a lot of like Lonsdales and Lanceros and Petite Lanceros. So like that's really where our core fan base has become, because people respect the fact that we do like the old school traditional stuff, but then we have a lot of new school stuff also.
Awesome. So I heard in one of your interviews that you used to be a bouncer at a strip club. You got any wild stories?
Well, yeah, I mean, weird stories. So I was a what you would call a floater. I'm not big. I'm 6 foot. I'm 260 now just because I'm heavy. In that picture you saw, I was about 215. I was looking good in that picture. I have a weird condition that made my bones and everything grow. Like my hands grew bigger, my feet grew bigger. So like even if I got down 20 pounds from now, I'd start looking really skinny. But anyway, I was never a big dude. But there are a lot of big dudes in the strip club that I would call over. Those were the bouncers.
Oh.
Those were the bouncers. Yeah, I mean, it was a weird, it was Van Nuys, California, during the heyday of strip clubs, I would guess, and probably the heyday of porn.
Right.
So I remember walking into work and they were filming a movie. I mean, yeah, well, that was a little weird. Yeah, I mean, I crazy stories. No, I mean, yeah, those little tidbits, but
Right.
some I just should probably not talk about either.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Well, again, I appreciate you being here. I'm gonna pass the mic over to JJ.
Right
And,
on.
you know, blessings for your future, man. It's gonna be bright. Hell,
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna. I think I'll single-handedly keep you in business, but we'll see.
Well, Pete, again, thank you for being here.
Yeah,
And, I myself, I have anywhere from Conway Twitty to Lamb of God in my lineup when I listen to music.
There you
So
go.
when I
Yeah.
heard you were in a metal band, I thought that was real cool. When you played the bass,
I was a bass player. We started off more like hair metal.
okay.
We were like we had a very mixed group. I hate to interrupt the question, but I think I'll just kind of give you a little tidbit. We had a very mixed group. Like we all came from different backgrounds and different musical backgrounds, so we all had different influences. But we ended up being more like Skid Row and Warrant in the early days, and eventually we kind of transformed to more like Alice in Chains meets Extreme.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of harmonies, but heavy work. And the funny story is that we had lawyers and management, and our lawyers called us in. Very big legal law firm with two brilliant minds in the music industry and entertainment industry. They called us in for a meeting. We're like, oh, something's up. This might be a good news thing. And they're like, we got to drop you. And we're like, what?
Oh, no.
So we were like, why? And they're like, no, don't worry. We're going to find you another lawyer. It's just that right now we just signed a new band, and you guys sound a little too much like them, and we need to concentrate on that band. And that band was Stone Temple Pilots.
Oh, damn.
So
Oh, my God.
yeah, but yeah, the lawyers did the Chili Peppers, Jane's Addiction, Ice-T's Body Count, like
Wow.
any of the one guy did the harder stuff, and the other guy did like the softer hair metal, like Bullet Boys and Slaughter and stuff like that. Jeffrey Light and Eric Greenspan. You could probably guess who did the softer stuff. Jeffrey Light.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, love the music industry. I mean, I got tired of it. Let me finish. I'll let you finish your question, and I'll save the rest of the stories for a little bit. But go for it.
Okay, so that's all I was gonna say. I was introduced to music real young. My older sister, her husband was friends with a local little metal band, and I went there to learn how to play guitar. And that drummer said, "You're a big old boy. Sit behind these drums." And I picked up double bass just easily, and
I love it.
a Tama Rockstar drum set in the shop right now. It's collected dust, but
How old are you?
I'm 35 now.
Okay, you're a pup. So you probably wouldn't even like. I played in a band with this guy named Randy Castillo. You probably wouldn't even know who he is.
No.
Randy Castillo was Ozzy Osbourne's drummer.
Oh my Lord.
Randy was one of those back in the heyday of when he was playing. Randy's passed; he's long gone. But back in the heyday when he was playing, he was a big double bass guy. Like if you look at some of the old Ozzy Osbourne videos, that's Randy behind the kit. Yeah, I was in a band with him and this guy named John Lowry, and John ended up becoming Marilyn Manson's guitar player, and then Rob Zombie's guitar player, and now he's Motley Crue's guitar player.
Wow.
Oh, Cigars Unbanded asked, what was your bass guitar of choice?
The last couple I had, the last one I bought before I stopped playing music was a Music Man Stingray.
Oh, wow.
Because I needed a good bass for the studio. I knew I need something that had good pickups and a good sound for the studio. But for live music, I actually played a bass that they gave me when we played the Washburn guitar show at the NAMM convention one year. They gave us guitars to play, and luckily I got to keep mine. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it was like kind of like a oversized Les Paul style looking body to it. But I have well, you can't see it, it's like just around the corner, but I have one bass in there on the wall that's a brand called Duesenberg. A buddy of mine owns the company in the United States, and it's a German guitar company, but he's the U.S. distributor. That thing plays beautifully.
Oh, yeah, just over my shoulder, kind of behind the humidor, I have a Jackson Dinky with the Floyd Roses.
Oh,
I can
shit.
play with every from time to
So
time.
I used to have Charvel basses.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Charvel USA made basses. I still have one. I set it on fire.
Oh,
I wanted it to look distressed, so I took everything out of it, and I just beat the shit out of it,
oh.
and then I put it back together. Yeah, it was one of those. I saw Nikki Sixx playing this bass that looked like it had been through like a hurricane. I was like, that looks awesome, and I decided to kind of mimic that with one of my Charvels. But yeah, Charvel was what I played with for the first couple of years that we were playing, because that's the only two basses I could afford. I happen to have a metallic purple one and a black one. I sold the purple one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also have I had an ESP Thunderbird for a while. I ended up getting rid of that, and then I ended up buying a Epiphone Thunderbird when I had to play a show at the Viper Room in 2009. I figured I'd get a new bass, and the Epiphone Thunderbird actually played really well.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm getting this. But I hadn't built up my calluses on my fingers in so long that I actually wore tape on my fingers during the show.
I guarantee it. If I went out there and hit them bags right now, I'd have the biggest, nastiest blisters on my hand. I haven't touched them things.
Yeah, it was nasty.
Oh yeah.
Like, it was not comfortable, and some of the stuff that we played was a little faster, and it wasn't easy to do with duct tape on my fingers.
Oh, I guarantee you. And back to you've been in the business for a little time now.
32 years.
What keeps you inspired?
Wow. I don't know. I think, sometimes I have my days where I'm just not feeling the inspiration at all.
Right.
Sometimes I just need to take a nap and hopefully I wake up in a better mood. I think for me, it's really the challenge to impress people that, again, I'm making cigars for myself, but I've been searching for a flavor profile for 32 years. And no matter what I put out, I love them all, but I'm still searching for the perfect flavor profile.
Right.
And it's untouchable. Like, it's not even a thing you can reach. But I do get a kick out of impressing like European and UK smokers that always think the Cuban cigars are the best cigars in the world. And then when I can turn their head a little bit, that I get a kick out of.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that inspires me a lot.
I guarantee you.
Yeah.
That's the Panda up here. He introduced me to Tatuaje. We all met up in July in Tampa, and he introduced, because I say, and where I live, it's very secluded when it comes to cigars for the most part. There's not a whole lot around here, unless I go to like Tulsa or Oklahoma City. And like I said, I smoked it was the Tatuaje Black, and the rest is history with that cigar. Yeah. I mean, they're beautiful cigars.
Thank you.
Oh,
yeah. Absolutely. That I think for me, it's really just inspiring to find something that's not in the portfolio that I'm missing for my appetite.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, like, we make cigars in the purpose of like, okay, what are we missing? Like, we have our cereal and we have our salad. Let's get some pizza. Let's get some steak. Let's get some chicken in there. It's all a lot of food-based items. Like, we want to have the buffet. Absolutely. Where people go down the buffet and pick and choose as they see fit.
There's something for everybody. Oh, Metal Neanderthal asked us a little bit back, said, I feel like Pete made the blueprint of the boutique cigar business. Every boutique since then tries to emulate it.
Well, that's awesome. I wasn't the first boutique guy for sure. There was a guy named, like, just for a quick example, there was a guy named Tony Berhani that owned a brand called Bahia back in the day. Bahia obviously is owned by CI now, and it's kind of like just a house blend or whatever they do with it. But Tony was a true boutique guy, like crazy. He had to change the blends a lot because he was, using a short amount of tobacco for different cigars. But really cult following.
Oh yeah,
Hard to get, and people still look for certain cigars of his if you can find like the old ones.
right.
There was a lot of guys out there that were doing really small batch, but ultimately every cigar company's boutique until they get a good rating from Cigar Aficionado. I mean, my wife's company was really boutique. Like, there was a time that both of our companies were selling about the same amount of cigars every year. And then they got their first number one. Now they have 3.
Oh,
They got their first number one, and it's like the difference in the size of the company was like this. And I was like, okay, cool. You guys are the engine. I'm gonna ride the caboose. I like the caboose better.
okay. And through all your ups and downs, what's your most memorable experience within the cigar world so far?
Wow. Dude.
I know there's probably been a lot. It's hard to pick.
Yeah, there's been a lot. I will tell you, the day that the Garcias got their first number one for Flor de las Antillas, back then we were in a couple. She called me. She says, "We did it. We got number one." And I was half asleep in Los Angeles because she was in Miami and I was in LA. And as soon as I got off the phone with her, I started crying. Like, I was happy.
Absolutely.
Like, tears of joy.
Yeah.
Because I was more happy that I could actually take a break. I was happy that they finally got recognized for the hard work that they do. 'Cause
Absolutely.
I'm very, the family is very dear to me, and I praise the work that they do. But at the same time, I was like, I can take a breather.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was 2 sighs of relief and like a congratulations.
Absolutely. Well, Pete, like I said, you got 4 lifelong fans right here for sure.
Awesome.
We appreciate you coming on. I'm gonna pass you up there to the big man PC.
Pete, I really appreciate you coming on with us, man. And
Absolutely, man.
I know that you spoke on one of your interviews. You spoke about the balance of your cigars, and you try to get that throughout each blend of each cigar. And what would you recommend for a newcomer trying to smoke cigars, and especially one of your cigars?
Well, I mean, when I talk about balance is like the key. It kind of relates back to music again. Because if you think about music, if it's out of balance and you got too much treble, you can hear like a really high pitched tinny,
Yeah.
you almost like you have tinnitus in your ear. You're like, I don't like that.
Yeah, it hits the ear different.
Sometimes too much bass is annoying. And
Right.
like, sometimes the car goes by and they got the big bass woofers in their car and it's just too much bass. You can't even hear any part of the music.
Right.
That's annoying. So if you have that balance, that kind of rounded flavor, and that just coats your palate, and there's nothing that's like making you question like, oh, that's spiking. Like it's kind of like a microphone when you talk too loud into it, it spikes, right?
Mhm.
Right.
You don't want to taste that in a cigar. I can't really suggest anything that they go look for. I would just suggest that they give it a shot, in the sense of like, try it. Not every one of them that we make is for you, because sometimes they're maybe a little more bassy,
Right.
but they're rounded and bassy.
Right.
Sometimes they might be a little bit more strong. Sometimes they might be a little bit more crisp, and you can actually relate it to different musics, in a sense where You have your love song, you have your rap song, you have your melodic song. Yeah, I would just if you want to start with like right in the middle, go for the Havana 6 line, which is the red label,
Okay.
and grab a Noble.
Noble.
It's the Robusto. It's not too strong, not too mild. It sits right in between. It's just consistent, and it's got flavor without the spike. And it's kind of like a baby brown label.
Right.
That's why we made it originally.
Right. And
But it's
and
got the
I'm-
single red band, not the one with the 2 bands. That's the Barracu, which actually is a little stronger.
I'm
Okay.
smoking that right now.
The Barracu?
Beautiful. Yep.
yeah. And I
Which
like
one,
fact-
by the way? The red or the blue?
Red.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you were
Because I
talking
have
about-
this one I have coming up next. Let me see if I can get focused on there. I can't for some reason.
I can never get
Stand
my
behind it. Believe that.
That's weird because usually this. Oh,
There you
There it is.
go.
Yeah. This camera is weird because you have to like get it right in the. It's supposed to snap on it, but oh well. Yeah, the Barracu Blue, which has the red top band and the blue bottom band, is it's a weird departure for the regular Barracu line because everybody thinks that it's going to be like Barracu, but the wrapper changes the cigar completely.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only thing that we did to the cigar. We changed the wrapper.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you talked about how when you did the balance on those cigars, it doesn't blow your palate out. You can pretty much, smoke 2 or 3 if you can get 3 down, and
Yeah.
smoke them back to back. A lot of cigars they overpower you, and you can't do 3 back to back. And for somebody like myself, I'm up to 3 a day now, and 4 sometimes. I want to, smoke them back to back instead of waiting 30 minutes in between times. But
Yeah, if you have a good balance, in a cigar, you kind of want to smoke it right away.
yeah,
You want to light up another one, and that's kind of how the brand started. Like every time I was smoking more and more of the new production that we were doing, like I would immediately light up the one as the other one was going out.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
Just kept on going.
and I have to ask you, how is it working with Don Pepin?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, he's when it comes to cigars, he's the man.
Right,
He's again. I told you earlier, he's a teacher's teacher. He will take the time to speak to you slowly. He's a Cuban guy. He speaks Spanish. My Spanish is good, but not great. So when we talk about tobacco, I can understand pretty much everything he says because he speaks slow.
right,
If I get into a conversation with his daughter and his son and the rest of the family, and they start talking about something other than tobacco, I don't know what the heck they're talking about. But he's. I would say Pepin's kind of like in that age where he's like really passionate about the farming part more than anything.
right,
But like he still goes into the factories every day, and he still goes when he's here in Miami. He goes to the Miami factory and he sees all the rollers that he hired, and no roller sits at one of those tables in Miami unless he interviews them. So like it's truly like one of those situations that you don't get a seat unless you pass the test through him.
right.
And I've seen people fail that test. But he's just a good dude and quiet, humble, very proud though. He's very proud of his product, and he's like me. We get depressed when we hear someone had a bad experience.
Right.
I mean, because that's what hurts the most is like when you feel like you're trying to do your best and you're trying to make these cigars for people to enjoy outside of yourself enjoying them, and then someone sends you a message that they had a bad experience. You're like, that's not supposed to happen.
Right. And I know that you got into retail. Can you tell us how you got into retail and what led you there?
Well, I was working at that club. It's called Bob's Classy Lady. I was working at that club, and I was frequenting a cigar store in Studio City, California. At the same store that if you ever seen the Seinfeld show where they show the front of a cigar store, it's not New York. It was actually Studio City, California.
Okay.
It's called Gus's Smoke Shop. And one day, as I was sitting in the club doing nothing but smoking a cigar, luckily I could smoke on my job, in walked one of the guys from the cigar store that I was going to. And he asked me if I wanted a part-time job. And I said, yeah, sure. When? He goes, Sundays. We need someone extra on Sundays to, do all the miscellaneous bullshit, and including blending the pipe tobacco blends that we're selling. Obviously, I wasn't blending them. I was taking the blend recipes and mixing them together.
Right.
And I took the job, and within 6 months, I was working full time because they thought I knew a little bit about cigars and tobacco. So it was, I stuck with it, and eventually, I moved on to the next thing, and I got hired to be a GM of a store that had a couple locations. And then the Grand Havana Room, which was a private cigar club, or still is a private cigar club in Beverly Hills, California, they came in one day and said, hey, we're looking for someone to manage our retail.
Right.
Like be the director of retail operations. And I took the job with them. The best interview ever was, I was with the owner and his son, and the son was kind of running the place, but the father was really the guy that made all the decisions.
Right.
And the son offered me like X amount of money. I go, yeah, that's not enough. And his father was the one that told him to pay me the money I wanted.
Okay.
So I have to thank him. He's long gone too, but I have to thank him for telling his son what to do.
Yeah.
But I stayed in that job for 10 years.
Oh,
Well, actually, 9 years, because while I had the brand in 2003, I didn't leave the Grand Havana Room until 2006.
Right.
So
Wow.
I worked both jobs. 2006 was the year that I kind of broke out at the trade show where I got overwhelmed by, I went into that trade show, I think, with 125 retailers, and I left with like 350. So
Wow.
It was, that might've been the moment I thought I maybe was successful.
Well, I really appreciate you. I got one last question, but
Sure.
as soon as I ask this question, my guy right there is gonna take over. I got to ask the question. I know you're a big Larry Bird fan, and I know you're a Kobe fan,
Yeah.
and I know you like Magic Johnson, but
I
what do
never
you think
loved
about-
Magic Johnson.
right? What do you think about this
I'm getting
GOAT
ready for this
debate that everybody has going on?
Okay.
No
How old,
debate.
how old are you?
I'm 56.
Okay, you're the same age.
Yeah,
Um,
I remember.
I forgot,
when
where are you
Dr.
located
J,
again?
I'm located in Georgia.
In Georgia. You grew up in Georgia?
I'm from Alabama.
Okay. Okay, so I grew up in Maine,
Okay,
and I was a diehard Celtics fan.
right.
The Celtics were the only team, but I was a basketball player.
Mm-hmm.
I was a point guard, and Pistol Pete Maravich was one of my superheroes.
I remember.
John Havlicek was one of my superheroes.
Yes, sir.
One of my favorite basketball players of all time was this guy named Chocolate Thunder, Daryl Dawkins.
Hoskins.
I
yes,
was,
sir.
me and my buddy actually had a fan club for Daryl Dawkins. I swear to God. He used to send us autographed pictures and shit.
Oh wow.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
we were the main chapter of Daryl Dawkins fan club.
Yeah.
When I moved to LA, I kind of stopped really following basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And I was never a Laker fan because, of course, I wasn't supposed to be a Laker fan. This is
Right.
going to be a long story because this is.
It's all good.
I'm going to
Especially
get to a point.
especially being a Boston fan.
I was not supposed to like anything about LA.
Right.
But there was this guy in basketball in the NBA that I thought was a badass, and I related to him because he had tattoos, and he was a little bit strange. And I started following his career. His name is Dennis Rodman,
Yep. The Worm.
the Worm. And I followed Dennis Rodman's career. And when he went to the Bulls, I became a Bulls fan because of Dennis Rodman. And then I realized I was watching greatness with Michael Jordan.
Absolutely.
And then I became such a Bulls fan. I watched all 6 of those championships and prayed for every one of them for the right outcome.
Right.
And then, obviously the first 3, Rodman wasn't on the team, but I was still a fan of Jordan before that. But I became more of a fan because of Rodman.
Right.
So when Rodman ended up going to LA, that's when I became an LA fan.
Okay.
And then I fell in love with Kobe.
Right.
And I got to ride the wave with the 5 championships with Kobe. The day that LeBron James came into the league in 2003, I said to myself, I don't like this kid.
Right. Right.
I think he's cocky.
Mhm.
I think he's probably going to do wonders in the league, but I think he's going to have an attitude about it like he's better than everybody else.
Right.
Is he good? Yes. Is he better than everybody else now? Maybe not now. A few years ago, yes. The day he became a Laker, I stopped becoming a Laker fan. My Lakers ended with Kobe and Pau Gasol and those guys.
Right.
I went to see him recently because I had to take the kids because for the kids, their GOAT is LeBron James, which I can't stand that whole debate.
Right.
And that guy didn't even show up for the game.
Oh my God.
He
Wow.
didn't show up. He didn't even show up to sit on the bench. And I'm like, after paying what I paid for those tickets, I was pissed. So
Yeah.
he's not my GOAT and never will be.
What? Right. No, he has a prima donna attitude, so he's had that since high school. So
He's
with that
great.
being said,
He's great, but
yeah, I'm not taking away from his talent. It's just
I don't
everybody
think he
Well,
does great for the NBA. I think
right.
Michael Jordan did great for the NBA.
Right.
We have a joke down here in Houston. We won the 2 championships back to back. And it was when Michael decided he was going to go play adult fantasy baseball.
Yeah.
And we won those 2 championships. And he came back and they won 3 more. It's like, okay, our run's over.
Yeah.
Garfield says you're spot on.
So you got to understand, Pete. The reason he brought this up because it's a very sore topic. Now you understand, I'm a New Yorker. I was a diehard Knicks fan. Okay,
So you hated Jordan.
I couldn't stand Jordan. I could not. I'm a Patrick Ewing guy, Charles Oakley, John Stark, even Doc Rivet. And I said, if you go back, was it the last of the year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably because I have all these guys coming at me that LeBron this, LeBron. I go, listen. So I challenge anyone that's willing to come out. We'll set them up live, and we could debate it. Go live.
Oh,
I
yeah.
tell them, listen. And you mentioned the one guy that I said that would shut LeBron James down, and is Dennis Rodman. That man would not score on Dennis Rodman. That man would have covered him like a damn blanket, period. Can you imagine LeBron James playing against the Pistons back then?
I look at LeBron. Yeah, I mean he's amazing. He's an amazing talent. But I look at LeBron as a 3-point shooting Karl Malone. I mean that's really what he is because Karl's a big dude. As soon as Karl went to the basket, no one wanted to get in the way of him.
Hell
But
no.
Rodman stood in front of him, and
Mhm.
Rodman broke him down.
right.
So yeah, I believe you're right. I think Rodman would. If Rodman was, I think Rodman could still come back in the league and do the same shit.
He would. But listen, first of all,
The
LeBron
guy's
can't
still
dribble.
a beast,
LeBron,
dude.
Yeah, he's
LeBron
high
can't-
energy.
Listen, but LeBron can't dribble worth a damn. Okay, listen, and the game is different now, though, right? Because you got 7-footers now shooting 3-pointers.
Yeah,
in the era that we
Wemby
grew up
shooting
in-
3-pointers.
Yeah, look at Karen Durant, right? It's just, to me, in my eyes is Jordan, even Kobe right afterwards. You know, I don't even put LeBron honestly in the top 5, and that's just my opinion. You know what I mean? Because there's so many other good players out there that to me I think Kobe emulated Jordan's game to the T. I really
Yeah.
do.
Oh no,
You know?
for sure. Kobe wanted to be Mike
Mhm.
for sure, and I think Mike actually applauded that.
Yeah. But his work ethic was just the same, right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, people in the locker room hated Jordan because of how he was.
Right.
And the reality, he just wanted to push his guys to their fullest potential. And he wasn't telling them to do anything that he wasn't willing to do himself. And mind you, I was never a Jordan fan growing up. Like I said, I was a New York Knicks fan. We used to have season tickets at the Garden. And dude, let me tell you something. When John Starks dunked over Jordan, I was happy. Like, I was screaming, doing cartwheels, and like you wouldn't believe. But yeah, why you got me all cranked up? I was
Dude,
chill,
I-
mellow.
Dude,
Hey, yo,
I'll tell you,
Exclusive.
you go back and watch this new documentary about Shaq, this more recent one.
Hmm.
And when he was on Orlando, man, he was a beast.
Mm-hmm.
With
Man,
footwork.
he was skinny. He would dribble the ball and he knew how to dribble the ball.
Right.
When he got to LA, he started getting pretty fat.
Yeah. He got
Um,
340 pounds at one point
yeah.
or bigger.
But man, he was good. I enjoyed watching Shaq play.
Yeah. Well, Shaq changed. He changed the
The
game.
big man post.
He changed the game. They had to change backboards because of this man.
Yeah.
I mean, think about. I mean, how many backboards? did
Go
this
back
man
to Daryl Dawkins. Same
Darren
thing.
Dawkins, baby.
Right?
Yeah.
76ers.
You know, and that's what I'm saying. And this is what
Oh,
I
see,
tell
that's
always-
another thing.
Yeah.
You're a Knicks guy, and of course, there was always some Nick that I really liked. But Ewing, I thought was amazing, but I hate him because he was so good.
Right.
But grow up with a Dawkins fan. I was a Julius Erving fan.
Oh,
Dr. J, dude. So
Yes, sir.
76ers came into play.
yeah.
Yeah, dude. I used to, everybody collected baseball cards when we were kids, and of course, I had a huge baseball card collection, but I also had a basketball card collection too, because those guys. That's the sport I excelled in. Like I actually played basketball fairly well when I was a kid. Not so much anymore.
No,
Yeah, that was me. I played shooting guard, in high school.
Yeah, same thing.
It's just, and to me, and I keep on telling those that praise LeBron are those who really never got to really see and experience Jordan at his prime, and to see the things that this man. And like I said, listen, I'm not a big fan of Tom Brady, but I respect the man and his talent and his skills. You got to respect the man's skills. You got to respect the man.
I think I would love to take a time machine back with a couple players to the era when they're where they're the same age and playing against each other. It'd be a pretty impressive and amazing thing to see.
Right.
But I love what Michael says all the time. It's like, it's not fair to call me the GOAT because I didn't get to play against that guy.
Right.
Absolutely right.
So when you got this guy that's claiming to be the GOAT and says that he's the greatest player in the world, you can't,
yeah.
But
can't
come on.
do that. You
Yeah.
just I
Self-proclaimed,
can't
yeah.
I can't wake up and say I'm the best cigar maker in the world. No, this is impossible. Like,
and the Garfather says right here that LeBron was marketed the right way,
oh yeah.
and he's not wrong.
No,
I mean,
listen,
And I go back and say, if you take some of these guys today and put them where they had to drive the lane against Hakeem Olajuwon and Patrick Ewing, and they would lose their teeth driving the
Yep.
lane on those guys. Nowadays, if somebody breathes on you wrong, you're on the free throw stripe.
Dude,
So,
you go back and you watch Phil Jackson playing the Knicks, right?
Knicks, yes.
And he was like a bully.
Mhm.
Phil Jackson would get into fights like
Bill
those guys.
Laimbeer.
There was a different
Bill
league.
Laimbeer.
It was a different. Bill Laimbeer was a beast. Those guys. Yeah, I mean, they were. Bill Laimbeer was like the epitome of what the Hanson twins in Slapshot.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's kind of like the bad boys of the Pistons back then.
Right,
They were like
right.
the
The
Slapshot
bad boys,
guys.
Detroit bad boys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
mess
and let me
with
tell you
one, you
something.
mess with all.
Yeah, and that was and that's what I keep on saying. You know, I mean, you got video upon video of LeBron flopping. You know, and just it's such an embarrassment, right? You're supposed to be this superstar, right? And you do all these antics. I mean, listen, it's just I don't know, man. I think what he's done. he's put
You know, we
himself in
could talk about
position.
this for like 2 hours.
Yeah, I know, man. See, PC, why you got me cranked? What's
Well,
Go ahead.
been-
Yeah, I love the debate, and I have kids that are in their early 20s that their GOAT is LeBron, and I'm like, Austin Reeves is a better player than LeBron.
Hey, Pete,
Austin Reeves is
Pete,
balling
hey,
right now.
Pete,
Austin Reeves,
right.
I think, could actually handle himself well back
Yeah.
when Jordan and Pippen and those guys were playing.
Hey, P, I got a question for you. Have you ever heard anyone get jacked up for some LeBron James sneakers?
No, no, yeah, that's one part of the debate that never loses.
Hey, have you ever
That's-
seen
that's-
Michael
that's an
Jordan
easy
wear a
one.
LeBron jersey?
No, they bought more Bronny Jr. jerseys just because it's going to be
I'm just
collectible.
saying. I could go on this. You're right. We could go on because, and let me tell you, I'm also a big boxing fan. You know, I've been watching both since I was a little kid. So I got another debate I'm gonna be proposing out there to boxing fans as well. You know, about Floyd Mayweather. You know that he's not the GOAT either. His 52-0 is a whatever. But anyways, I digress. But let's get back to cigars. I'm sorry. We kind of diverted. PC thanks, but
Who's your boxer though? Who's your boxer?
oh, you understand? I grew up in the 70s. Yeah, I'm 50 years old now. I'm only
Yeah.
50. So I grew up with the Hagler, the Holmes,
Yeah.
you know,
Ali.
Sugar Ray Leonard. You know, when it had nothing to do with the record, and it was
No.
all about if I'm saying I'm the best, and I want to fight the best.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what I respect about our era of boxing, right? And to me, Floyd Mayweather in his early years was a great fighter. You know what I mean? But he
And he
learned
got a
the
bunch
system.
of easy fights.
He learned how to play the system because the truth of the matter is,
I'll make
if
it
he
money
would've-
for him.
Yeah, of
Right.
course. If he would have fought Pacquiao at his prime, Pacquiao would have whooped that ass. Okay, that's number one. If you go back to the Zab Judah, YouTube it, watch the whole fight. They got the whole fight against Zab Judah. Zab Judah was just as fast and his defense was just as good. If it wasn't because of that big brawl that happened, Zab Judah was winning that fight. Zab Judah was winning that fight. And oh man, see, it's such. I'm telling you, being this, you don't understand. Yeah, I'm telling you. Yeah. So I grew up in that era of respecting fighters that wanted to fight the best. They didn't care about losing the belt. It was about, you know what, I'm saying I'm the best. You saying you're the best. Let's find out who's who. And this is what I love about the UFC, right? You don't have to worry about the refs getting involved, giving, especially, and I think that's what has tarnished the boxing is the judging, not the refs, the judging.
Yeah, I would probably put John Jones as the best UFC fighter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Most
And I
definitely.
was a big BJ Penn guy,
Mhm.
huge BJ Penn guy. Like I thought he was during his prime, he was spectacular.
Mhm.
And that-
George
and that-
St. Pierre, obviously,
In that
So
last
St.
John
Pierre
Jones
to me, I
fight,
love.
Anderson
Very
John
humble
Jones
guy.
fight when he
Anderson
when,
Silva.
when John Jones kicked Stipe in that last fight, when he kicked him in the ribs, and you just saw the guy's entire body ripple. You was
Yeah,
like, oh my
yeah.
God.
No, the guy's a badass, and it's funny because he looks just like a normal dude.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like he's like overly beast mode out or anything like that. He's just a normal
Dominic Reyes. Yeah, you're right.
badass.
You know,
Listen.
Black South said, I think someone will rob me for my Cortez before a LeBron sneaker.
So Black South lives in LA. He's in
Yeah.
LA, Black South. You know, but I remember when UFC first started. You know what I mean? There was no weight division. You know what?
No, it was just whoever wanted to fight.
Now remember, Dana White came from the boxing realm.
Yeah.
And he's the one that incorporated the weight division. But I remember back in the day, you had 130, 140 pounders fighting 300 pounders back then.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
Okay.
And when Dana White came he's like, you know what, we could really monetize this, and we just got to do this the right way. And he made the weight divisions and stuff like that. But I got to give respect to the women's division with Ronda Rousey. I knew that Holly Holmes was going to whoop her ass, and I called it my coworkers, and I told her she's only used to a certain level. Holly Holmes was a kickboxer. You know what I'm saying? That's the era that I grew up in. I was a kickboxer. I've been in the martial arts since I was 14. So and I knew she was gonna whoop her ass because she had never fought anyone like Holly ever. And I was like, she's gonna whoop her ass. And not only did she whoop her ass, she embarrassed her. You know what I mean? But
I got to watch Kimbo Slice box at the casino we have here, and I'm telling you what, the guy
was just before he started like fighting for real.
No, it was after. It was when he was fighting for real, and the guy he was supposed to fight backed out. They found a cat on a Wednesday to fight him on a Friday. I'm telling you what, this guy went every round with Kimbo Slice. Kimbo Slice won by decision, but every time that man hit, it sounded like a damn grenade going off.
Kimbo would get winded pretty quick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well,
He was good for a quick street fight, but when it came to going 5 rounds, he would get winded. It's like some basketball players, dude. I watched some basketball players doing the same thing. Like I watched this kid. So our middle kid in the house, he was on this Jesuit basketball team right around the corner from where we live, and they managed to get to the state championship and win.
Oh, nice.
And this is and our kid was the tallest kid on the team at 6'5".
Wow.
I walked into their gymnasium one day to watch a game, and there was a kid that was 7 feet, high school, freshman in high school, 7 feet. And I was like, oh, like, are we playing the college team? Like, what's going on? And that kid came in. He ran down the court twice, and they had to take him out because he was like Shaq at 360 pounds.
Yeah.
He was just tired.
Yeah. And then you get guys like Jordan that play 42 minutes a night,
Yeah, you get guys like Jordan who play 82 games on your last season.
Right.
And every season, pretty much.
Injured.
Shit, Jordan played when he was deathly ill.
I had 104, 105 fever.
LeBron's been out 6 games this season already, and they had I don't even know how many games.
Ingrown toenail. Yeah, I know.
And the thing about Jordan is he wasn't always kicking, the opponent's ass. He's kicking his own teammates' ass a lot of the time too.
Yeah.
In the middle of the game, he was kicking their ass.
Yeah. BJ Johnson. I mean, what is it? BJ Armstrong, Kurt, was the second, what is it? The Warriors coach. They got into it all the time.
Yeah.
He kept Dennis in under control because he had to relate to Dennis and let him know, hey, Scotty might not be here. I need you to, have my back on some things. So, and that's another player that don't get his just due, which is Scottie Pippen. That guy was.
Well, I think he definitely got his praise for when he was on the Bulls. Maybe not so much when he went to Houston, right?
Yeah, he went to Houston. Yeah.
That was
when
weird.
He was on the Bulls. He was getting his. I think for his Bulls years, he still gets a lot of praise. That team, that threesome was like the first iconic threesome. That's what LeBron went out. I love you, fantasy adult baseball. I love that. Cool. Michael went off to play,
baseball.
Fantasy adult baseball.
Right.
And eventually, when he had a piece of the Wizards, he went and played for the Wizards in his retirement years.
Right.
But he was a Bull.
Yes.
That was it.
Through and through.
Kobe was a Laker through and through. Kobe didn't go anywhere else to chase for a ring. He got 5 rings with the Lakers.
Right.
LeBron had to chase to get a ring.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go to South Beach to get a ring. And he did. He got 2, right?
Mhm.
Then he went back to his home team.
Cleveland.
After everybody burned his shirts the first time, they all said, we'll welcome you back. You got us a championship. And then he decided to chase more rings, and he had to win his next ring in a bubble.
Listen, when he came to Miami, listen, and listen, when he came down to Miami, right? I got to give Dwayne Wade his true props, because Dwayne Wade, everyone knew that was his team. You know what I mean? And it takes a big man to step back and say, you know what? I want to win the championship. I know this guy and this guy can help us. You know what? I don't care what it takes. Just bring them. And a lot of people, and it's funny because it's like a lot of people don't get Wade a lot of credit that he was due for bringing LeBron and Bosh.
Yeah. No, that was Wade's team for sure. And LeBron wouldn't have won without Wade.
Right.
LeBron wouldn't have won without Wade and Bosh there. And ultimately, the best part about it is Wade still says that his GOAT will always be Michael Jordan.
Well, he knows reality. He knows reality. And listen, those who got to play against Jordan, they know. You know what I mean? They knew what kind of competitive he was. He was the one that you did not want to talk shit to, because if you did, you just cranked and woke up the beast. Everyone knew, even Magic Johnson. To me, even Magic Johnson, to me, he will go down in history as one of the greatest as well. You know what I mean? Even talks about Jordan being the greatest. You know what I mean? So when you get peers like that are eras before Jordan talking about his greatness, or whatever you want to call it, it says a lot. And it says a lot when other people could say it for you, not you saying it for yourself.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need to see. I mean, listen, he's broken every record, but he's also broken every record in a longer span of time.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you
That's
count?
not an argument, right? That's not even an argument, though, right? Because that's the argument that I get with these kids, right? I would hold, so the kid's been playing since he's 18 years old.
Yeah.
This man was a multi-millionaire before he even stepped 1 foot on a professional basketball court.
Yeah.
Right? I go, but you got to understand, he got one of the highest deals with Nike, but guess what? Who set the path? Who set the way? Right? It's Jordan. And the reality, not only does Jordan have a Nike brand, but it's his own brand, right? It's his own entity.
Here's something.
I also have a thing with, they always say never meet your heroes, right? Never meet your heroes. And I know that a lot of kids look up to LeBron, and that's their hero. And I've seen way too many times and heard way too many real stories that he's just passed off on kids and said, no, I don't have time for you. No, I'm not going to take a picture with you. No, I'm not going to sign your basketball. No, get out of my way, kid. Like, I've seen that too many times, and I've heard way too many real stories. So I don't like people that are, dude, I used to run into basketball players all the time, and they took the time to have a conversation with me. Like, nice guys. I have a feeling that if I ran into this guy, he'd be thinking that he's too big for the room.
Right.
That's
kind of like, do you remember that guitar player I told you about? That played with everybody and eventually is on Motley Crue? Right. He ultimately became a total asshole. I ran into him. We played in a band together, and he looked at me and says, "Oh, yeah, that was a long time ago." And I was like, "Oh, good to see you."
Yeah.
And my buddy looks at me and goes, "What happened?" I go, "Yeah, dude, he played it off like we barely knew each other." And I'm like, "Dude, I knew his kid." Like,
right.
I knew his ex-wife.
It's like
now
one
he's
of
a rock star and he's famous and he's too good to talk to people. Like,
one of my heroes in the cigar game is David Garofalo.
What's that?
My hero in the cigar game is David Garofalo.
There you
I
go.
absolutely adore that man, and I hope to meet him one day.
Yeah. There's good people. We had him on our podcast.
You got to get up to New Hampshire.
Yeah. Oh, we're looking at it. Oh, PC Don. Probably for you to tell you guys, JJ already met him. David, my brother-in-law, the one I mentioned. You guys. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, AP question. You going to be at the Great Smoke?
I will be. Yeah.
Guess what?
So will we.
You guys heading down?
Yeah, we are.
Very
We're
cool.
coming down for it.
I'm 10 minutes away from there.
Oh, you should. Yeah, you're there. Yeah. Yeah, we'll be there. Yeah, Abe has this new rule that if you want to participate, you gotta come. So I'll actually be there with Dan, Surrogates Dan.
Okay.
Yeah, he actually enjoyed the event last year when we were there, so he's like, I want to come back next year.
I was going to ask you that, kind of going back to the questioning. Oh, you know that obviously last year they changed the venue per se.
Yeah.
Do you like it this way, or do you like it the way it was before, prior to?
I don't mind it the way it is now. It gives us the opportunity to just kind of hang out and talk to people. But what I don't really like selling cigars. Like, I'll be honest. Like, I don't want to have people feel pressured to buy something. So I usually just stand far away from what's going on at the table, and I just want to have a conversation outside and look from afar.
Well, that was you last year, because last year I never saw you behind the booth.
Yeah, Dan was behind the booth with a couple of our friends, and I was just kind of chilling, hanging out to anybody who wanted to have a conversation.
Well, we definitely would love to get with you.
Absolutely.
Chop it up a little bit.
Oh,
take
yeah.
some photos with you if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
You know, 'cause we definitely we can.
Let me think about it. You know, I might get in the LeBron mood and
LeBron
and go away.
Get out of here.
Step aside,
Get
kid.
out of here.
So
we got cigars to smoke.
we end up getting the VIP tickets, so we're able to get in an hour early before the mad rush.
Nice.
You know, so and it's fun. And first of all, I don't think you have any worries about anyone you selling any cigars. I think your cigars sell for themselves.
Absolutely.
But we try to, you know, it's like we try to bring like a good amount of like smaller samplers and some boxes of popular product that we know that people always want to replenish, because like Abe's got a good deal during those events.
Yeah.
So we know that people will be into buying into something that they normally buy anyways.
Right.
But we always try to bring stuff that's kind of exclusive to the event. That
Well,
way.
we're definitely gonna see. Hopefully, you can sign a box for us and stuff like that, because we're definitely gonna get some boxes. You know, to me, the great. I've gone to this Great Smoke almost. I've been to almost every one of them. You know what I mean? For the most part, obviously, besides COVID and stuff like that. I honestly think that this year or last year was a little different. Before, you know how you give a ticket, you go to each one. I like it this way because of what you just said.
Yeah, I want to have the time to talk.
We get to talk a little bit more with you. You know what I mean? And the average person that enjoys cigars and don't get to really enjoy to do this, to get to meet the person behind it all, right?
I used to do I used to do the trick-or-treating thing with the Big Smokes.
Mm-hmm.
I used to go to all the Big Smokes when I was younger, before I had my own brand. I used to go help out other brands and pass out cigars. I had a kick, with it. Like, I actually enjoyed meeting people and but it was always that, thanks for coming. There was nothing really personal other than like maybe one guy would stop and actually want to have a conversation, but everybody was in a rush to go to the next booth.
Right.
Abe's event was really, really pleasant because you could actually sit and just chill and hang out with people and have real conversations.
Right.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, and this is going to be their first time. And to me, like the Great Smoke, it's a decent size event. It's not a huge event, right? And I think that's what I like about it. It's a little bit more personable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That you get to meet yourself. Because I know AJ Fernandez was there last year, Eric Espinoza, Nick Perdomo was there.
Eric. If you haven't met Eric, Eric's a good dude, man.
Oh, me and Eric, I know Eric very well. These guys, we had Eric on the show not too long ago.
Oh yeah,
Eric,
He's a good dude, man.
Yeah, Eric is a character, ain't he?
Oh yeah.
Eric is a character.
Yeah, he told me that 601 La Bamba would it'd knock my dick off. But I'm telling you right now, this Florida trip, sorry, honey, bye to the 401k.
So I'm telling you, so we're definitely, these guys are excited. I'm excited for them to come. They're gonna stay out here with me, and we're gonna. I'm gonna take them to a couple of lounges. I'm gonna take them to like Smoke on the Water. You know what I mean? Little spot.
Smoke on the Water is great.
Yeah,
That's a great spot.
Yeah, my home lounge is Burn One. There used to be a Smoking in Margate. They carry your lines big time. You know what I mean? So like to me, a matter of fact, JJ, before we continue, I have a couple more questions if you have time, Pete.
I probably need about 10 minutes in between this one and the next one, so I have 20 minutes.
Okay, good enough. Before we go ahead, show that beautiful beat footage, JJ.
Yes, sir.
We'll get right back with Pete Johnson.
Yeah, man. Here we go.
What's going on, guys? This is your boy Panda, and your boy Panda has some great news. We have teamed up with Burn One Cigar Bar, located at 7328 Royal Palm Boulevard in Margate, Florida. Guys, Burn One Cigar Bar is your go-to destination for the finest selections of premium cigars at unbeatable prices. Step into a world of luxury and relaxation as you indulge in the smooth flavors and exquisite aromas of our carefully curated cigars collection. But that's not all. Burn One Cigar Bar has teamed up with us for an exclusive sponsorship opportunity just for you. When you call Burn One and purchase any box of cigars, you unlock a fantastic discount of 20% of your order using special discount code PANDA. You can contact Burn One at 954-970-0001 or on their social media pages, Facebook and or Instagram. Guys, don't miss this chance to elevate your cigar experience without breaking the bank. Visit Burn One Cigar Bar today, mention discount code PANDA, and treat yourself to premium cigars at incredible value. Hurry up, this offer won't last. Burn One Cigar Bar, where luxury meets affordability. And they ship nationwide. Peace.
My wife heard what I said. She said, whatever. I think I'm tagging along. You'll be having too much fun.
Well, there you go, guys. That's my home lounge, as everybody knows, Burn One. And even on Tatuaje Cigars, they'll ship everywhere. You guys want 20% off on a box. By all means, take advantage. When you can, especially now, New Year, they started off fresh. Just buy some Tatuajes, baby. Let's go.
New year, new budget, right?
That's right. New Year, hey, tax season's come, right? You get your tax money back. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
So Pete, question for you. Enrique, I love your Monster series, right? I think I have a couple of Drox. You know what I mean? I just bought a box of the Wolfman and stuff like that. How did that series come about? Because that's so different from the norm of your blends per se, or your name brands per se.
Well, in 2007, a buddy of mine had a store in Boston called Gloucester Street Cigars. I actually just texted him today because he was asking me if I was near any of the fires. Obviously, I'm in Miami, but the office in LA is not near any of the fires, thank God.
Yeah.
Him and another friend of mine owned this store, and he kept on pushing me to do more limited editions, and he said you should do a theme cigar. And I was kind of going back and forth with a theme cigar based off of Sports Rivals, and I was going to do colorways. I wasn't obviously going to put logos because I'd get sued for it, but I was going to use colorways. And of course, Red Sox, Yankees, Celtics, Lakers, colorways, and have them same size, different blends, which rival wins, right? I never used it, and ultimately someone ended up using the trademark Rival, so I couldn't go back to it. But he kept on pushing me on there's got to be some other things. And there was a T-shirt store down the road called Johnny Cupcakes. And everybody thought it was a cupcake store until you walked in. It was actually limited edition T-shirts, and people would stand in line in the cold of winter in Newbury Street, Boston, and want to buy a limited edition T-shirt. And they would do different holiday themes and shit. But my buddy that owned the store, Pork Chop, we called him. He still goes by Pork Chop. he was a big sneakerhead back then, and he started pulling out like all these sneakers. He actually had more sneakers in the store than he had cigars, because he was hiding them from his wife.
Uh-huh.
And as soon as, like, in the middle of this whole conversation about what could a theme cigar be, he pulls out a Nike Frankenstein pair of sneakers. And I was like, Monsters, that's easy. Like, that's a no-brainer. And they're like, what do you mean? I go, box of 13 in a coffin-shaped box. You do Frankenstein first, you do Drax second. And I started going down the whole list of, like, by the time I left the store that night, I probably had most of the Monsters planned. So I had every year planned up for like 8 years. And when I started doing the whole project in Nicaragua, there was a lot of people that came in and out of the factory and were like, what's Pete working on now? And the Garcias would show them the coffin-shaped box. They're like, what is he, crazy? And honestly, Frank, no one really cared about. Like, when it came out, we picked 13 retailers. They all sold them. Some guys were getting like 7-8 boxes, put them away. Those were the smart guys because they bought them for $169, and they sold them for
a
way
lot
more.
more than that. Yes.
But yeah, it just kind of steamrolled. The first year was kind of quiet. The 13 retailers got them, and then the next year, that's when everybody kind of went crazy for it. And then it picked up the demand after that, but it was all based off that conversation. And it ended up being really something that I enjoyed because I liked old monster movies.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's been more of a monster and a nightmare for me because, the distribution of it always gets messed up in some way. We're always, like someone didn't get enough, or, some people just didn't get any at all. And ultimately, a lot of retailers get upset with us because they didn't get as much as they wanted. Or like I messed up the second year and I ended up trying to think that it would be cool to paint the inside of the box. That was a bad idea. So I had to kind of like send out a soft recall to everybody. Like, if you don't want them, send them back to me. I'll send you replacement cigars type of thing. So I learned a lot of lessons. But then I ended up fast forward and I got a cease and assist from this company called Monster Energy because they thought that they owned the name Monster. And luckily for me, I owned it in the cigar business. So they couldn't do anything about it, but they just became a pain in my side. Like, they just kept on poking, and they got way more money because they're owned by Coca-Cola.
Right.
And they pick on anybody they can beat up. And ultimately, I just kept on telling them no. And finally, they kind of went away. Hopefully, they stay away. But yeah, what a pain in the ass it was.
I bet.
But ultimately, it was one of the coolest things that I've done, and it ended up becoming its own brand. I mean, it's literally it's truly its own identity. And if I didn't have one more Tatuaje or any other brands I sell now, I could still make a monster and probably have a decent living.
Right. Well, I can't confirm or deny that I know somebody that might have bought up one of those old first editions, maybe 2 or 3 boxes, and resold. I cannot confirm that I know that person because I know this hoarder by the name of Panda. You know what I mean? Panda has this obsession with cigars, and I don't know what it is. The cigars are meant to smoke. And I told these guys, like, I have cigars that like I have like 2 Drax left. And it's like, and the problem is that, like, this is how crazy I get with your cigars, especially with the Drax. Like, because I go, I'll never be able to smoke it again. I know how good they are. You know what I mean?
13 years from now, you'll see it again.
Well,
It'll be the Redux 3.
So, I mean, the only regret that I have is that what I wanted to do and I never did it was to grab one stick from each box and to create like all the series as they come along and just put it as a showcase. If you ever do,
you'll have to wait for the haunted house to come out.
Oh, okay. So then
which will have all the monsters.
Okay, so there you go, right? So you have the mini series. Really, you had to come with the mini series because the hoarder had to get a box. I'm just so Here's
Yeah,
a question.
I've been blamed a lot for a lot of maybe a couple divorces.
So I have a question and a favor at the same time.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get up to at least 500 subscribers. We've only been doing this for what, 6 months now, going on 7.
6 months. Yep.
We're trying to get to 500 subscribers.
Right on.
I have a box of miniseries. Maybe not at the Great Smoke. Maybe I could catch you outside because I know how Abe is, about certain things. Would you be willing to sign that box? Because we want to do a giveaway.
Of course.
Oh,
Yeah, but Abe's cool with that.
Yeah.
People were bringing me stuff to I had one guy bring me a whole bag full of stuff to sign last year.
Okay.
man.
So yeah, you're good.
Right, I would definitely be bringing that mini monster. So the box.
I went to an event in Maryland recently. Well, actually last year, and a guy brought literally 2 coolers full of boxes for me to sign every box.
Good. Look, did you get?
I have no. My hand got tired, but I have no problem doing it.
Well,
I always tell people, but the value goes down as soon as I put my name on it.
No, I highly doubt that, man. Well, Pete, listen, man, we greatly appreciate you taking the time with us, man.
You guys are
Yes,
awesome.
sir.
I like the format too, man. I like
Thank
just
you.
passing it off to the next guy.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Listen,
And
we really,
I appreciate the questions and the GOAT debate for sure.
absolutely.
So thank you for bringing that up.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, he likes to stir
Some
up the
people
pot.
probably think that I know nothing about basketball.
No.
But definitely,
Old
we'll
school
definitely will catch up with you at the Great Smoke. Hopefully, we could get together soon. And guys, once again, if you guys have not smoked any of Tatuajes, I don't know where the heck you've been. You've been living and hiding underneath the rock. Get your ass out of the rock and get yourself a stick.
Yeah.
I promise you, you will not be disappointed, guys. What's my favorite word? The cigars are what?
Phenomenal.
Phenomenal. There it is.
Love it.
That is my
You even
slogan.
got your own banner now, Panda.
That's it. I got my own banner. So, guys, once again, Mr. Johnson, if these guys don't know where to find you, where can they find your cigars and your platform?
Best for me directly, Tatuai Inc. Tatuai Inc. on Instagram. I'm on Instagram because it all pushes to Facebook and all those other things.
Right.
Tatuai Cigars on Twitter or X, I guess, right now.
Right.
You can also tag Tatuai Cigars because I look at that platform, but I actually have one of my guys in the office running it for me because I realized it was overwhelming trying to run too many of them by myself. So, but yeah, Tatuai Inc. is my direct, and I answer every one of them. So
Awesome.
We greatly appreciate JJ. Where can they find the Leaf and Nash podcast?
Oh man, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, and of course YouTube.
There you
And
go.
Pete, thank you for being so easy to be in contact with. I was like, man, I don't want to mess him too soon. I'm like, man, who is this guy? But you've been
very easy. But the best now you have my email. That's the best way because that's one of the few emails that I'm the only one looking at it.
okay.
Awesome.
And I get most of the media stuff goes to that one anyways, and it's just easier for me to see because I don't have a lot of spam and junk in that email.
And
Awesome.
hopefully down the road we can get you back on.
Absolutely.
Well,
We
Pete,
can go for part 2 on the debate of the GOAT.
No, absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Just stick a while, Jeff, for a little bit longer, Mr. Johnson. And guys, we greatly appreciate you spending the time with us. As always, we love you. Hit that notification bell, hit subscribe, share, like a like. And as always, guys, catch you on the next one. Peace.